Now in its 9th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
From New York, it's the Ramble, and I'm Alex, and we'll be here till midnight tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting Lori Thompson. She's in Florida.
I feel like I'm at a cotillion, like my, coming out, or whatever you call those debut things that the society girls do.
You know what's interesting about Lori? For as long as I've known her, she hasn't been married.
Right.
I'm sure you had long-term relationships and things like that, but what is a marriage but a long-term relationship with a piece of paper?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So, I mean, I had one long-term relationship, 11 years. You remember the girlfriend I had for a long time. On and off. I kept breaking up with her. She kept breaking up with me over and over again. 11 times in 11 years, okay?
I didn't know how long. She was a good one. All your
Well, she was a sweet kid. I say kid because compared to me, she was a kid. I started going with her when she was 18, and I think I was 30. All right. So,
yeah, and that doesn't seem like a big gap.
Or 33. Yeah. I didn't take it as a gap. I just enjoyed it. But anyway, now what was the point I was going to make? Why did I?
You were talking about you were unmarried most of the time.
Oh yeah. So that was a case where for 11 years, I mean, I have to almost say we were married.
Yeah. Because when you're in one of those breakup and then unbreak up, I was in one of those for several years, from the ages of 16 to 22 to 21. And it finally came time for the big, virginity night. And I was away at college, and I was dating guys who were very, I was occasionally going on dates, and guys were very aggressive. And I didn't want it to happen.
Well, how old were you? How old were you when you first lost your virginity?
21.
Wow.
Yeah. And I had to talk
I was 18. Which, for a guy,
that's relatively,
we were late. We were late.
Yeah. And this was a guy I had been seeing off and on at Bible quiz tournaments.
Bible quiz tournaments. Oh my God.
Oh, Bible quiz was great. Axl Rose was in Bible quiz in Indiana, and you studied a given book of the Bible, New Testament, for that year. And then every month you would go and play different churches with quiz teams. It was great. It taught memorization. It taught text.
Yeah, but you were also being taught myths.
I know. And my dad, had a great attitude. He said, some of these, you might want to look at as metaphors. He never told me what to think.
I always said, if you want to look at the Bible, well, to begin with, the Old Testament are a bunch of stories.
Yes.
And each story has a moral. So it's really a book of fables. And, most of the time you can take that stuff for what it is because it has a message at the end.
Yes.
And it does not purport to be the history of mankind. When you get to the New Testament, that's all history. It's history.
Yeah.
It's Christ, it's the apostles, all those people, the history of how they came. It's all historical. So as opposed to the First Testament, which are fables, and they probably handed down from campfire to campfire over history to give a moral, as it were. The New Testament didn't have any morals. The New Testament was simply telling stories about history and purporting to be history. So that's where I consider it false.
Well, I consider it, my father was very good about, like I say, not telling us what to think or how to think, but he said you might consider. And so metaphor is, I just take most of the New Testament as valuable metaphor, and the Christ figure himself, He was, he walked in the flesh. My dad had theories about Jesus, that he had a wife, and he had sexual dalliances, and
he probably cheated on that wife. Yeah. He's a guy. He cheated on that wife. He was a guy.
Well, and the principle of Jesus is emphasizing the spirit over the flesh. That I understand. And so everything, when I'm thinking of doing something, I think, what are the consequences to me and those I love in doing this or saying this? And that's a pretty good guiding principle to grow up with, because you think about other people. It trains you in empathy. And I think empathy is our most diligent duty and biggest privilege.
If you use the Bible as a moral guide, the morals aren't that terrible.
No. Love thy neighbor as thyself.
Yeah, I mean, things like that. And so there, it's fine. It's just terrible when people use it as a justification to be evil.
See, that's it. That is where they're obviously so missing the boat, and it's so easy to spot if you know the true morality. If you've seen, it's almost like an epiphany that you have, where you see this is what it's all about: spirit over flesh, transcendence.
By the way, it's an old joke, and I think it was either Bill Hicks who said this, or I think it might have been Lenny Bruce, actually. And it was that if Christ came back to earth right now, and he met up with all these good Christians who wore crosses around their neck, he'd be horrified, because that's how he was crucified. That's
right, exactly.
That's the method of death.
For the memory.
Yeah,
Get that out of here.
But yet this cross has become a symbol, and I can't understand why. I mean, if Christ had died in the electric chair, we have little electric chair pendants we're wearing around our neck.
That would be interesting. Well, there was one point of view that the cross is a symbol of sacrifice. The sacrifice, someone apparently had to die for sins. I've never understood that punitive approach to life.
He died for your sins, yeah.
Yeah, he died for my sins. I wasn't even born.
You know what you do is you go out, you have sex with somebody, and afterwards you say, "Hey, listen, I don't feel guilty. Somebody died for this."
Yeah, JC, am I right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the lessons of empathy, the fruit of the spirit: love, joy, and peace, patience, gentleness, goodness, and faith, and then meekness, which I have changed to consideration, and temperance. Those are the fruit of the spirit as prescribed. Not bad general principles.
Would you say you're still religious at all because of all that upbringing?
I don't know. I'm not religious, although, we go to this kick-ass church with this female black minister who is so passionate about the word. She can quote huge portions of scripture, and she gets so excited. It's just a blessing to be in her presence when she's so passionate.
Well, blacks are very joyous about their religion. I mean, you go to a black church and it's all boom, 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 ba, Then you go to a white church and everybody, oh, da, 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 da. Yeah. So but she's all that. But back to your question, I don't think of myself as a religious person. I think of myself as a much more deeply spiritual person than I was raised with. Of course, everybody says that's a cop-out. It's interesting. We have two churches on this block, one halfway down the block, and then the one over here, which used to be a movie theater. In fact, it was the first movie palace in America.
Really?
Yeah, and it was taken over by a church, some guy, some hustler, And these churches on Sunday, tourists bus up to Harlem to go to these churches.
Oh, I can believe it.
And to watch the music and the whole thing of it.
Spectacle.
And they made a rule that once the service is started, they close the doors and you cannot leave. And the reason you can't leave is that everybody was showing up, watching 2 or 3 songs, and then leaving. Mm-hmm. And they said, you got to stay for the service. You got to be here and listen to the sermon. Yeah.
Well, it's a sheep field trip.
But I wake up on Sunday many times hearing music coming from one of the churches down the street. Yeah.
That would be a blast, because I found a really great Assembly of God, which is what I was raised in Key West. I rode my bike to the church, which was a little thing, and I walked in, and the woman walking in front of me was barefoot, and I said, "This is my kind of church."
You know, the last time it's interesting. The last time we did this, we talked about you having a miscarriage in the bathroom at Live 105.
Right.
And this time we're talking about your religious life. This is, you know.
But we're all such walking conundrums, and that's a good basis. I'm so glad I was raised the way I was raised. It seemed stifling at the time, because when I was raised Assembly of God, couldn't go to movies, couldn't go to dances, and my parents loosened up on that. So I'm glad my dad balanced out my mother's extreme zealotry.
The thing I liked about Judaism and being Jewish, and I'm happy to be a Jew for this reason, there's no pressure on you for anything.
That would be nice.
You know, I mean, if I never went to another synagogue again, I would still be Jewish. Whereas if I were a Catholic, I'd probably be not a Catholic anymore.
Right, they demand a lot from you. I understand.
The level of failure as a Catholic is very high. The level of failure as a Jew is very low.
Yeah, that's a great approach.
Yeah. So,
speaking of, no, go ahead.
No, I was going to say. So I never had the feeling that I was obligated to do anything. The only thing my parents did with me is they had me bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
I went through that.
You get presents and envelopes with cash.
Well, the joke was you're supposed to say, "Today I am a man," because what it is, it's at 13, it's the passage of you going from being a child to a man, and now you're a man in the eyes of Judaism. And but the term was, "Today I am a man," and a lot of people said, with all the presents and everything, "Today I am a fountain pen." You know, you got all these fountain pens. I had more fountain pens than I knew what to do with, you know.
Really? That's funny.
Well, I'm saying fountain pen because who uses a fountain pen anymore?
Exactly.
I can't even, we were talking about getting older and things that get worse. It'll happen to you. I can't write my name anymore, my full name.
Really?
I get the Bennett part. Then when I get to the Schwarzman, it kind of peters out about around the Z.
Well, you're not as accustomed to signing Schwarzman because, when you were, every time I knew you, people know you as Alex Bennett.
Yeah.
And so that would make
Alex
a little...
Bennett, it was still pretty tough. I can't write as well as I used to because I have a little arthritis in this hand. And, you fall apart. You really do. I wake up in the morning and I have to think about getting out of bed. I have to think about when I'm sitting on the edge of the bed of getting up and walking,
Well, yeah. Well, there is a little bit of, what do they call it, sciatica. My paramour and I were trying to, now my husband, we had...
That's nice you call him your paramour. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah. And we had trouble with our floor, water pipe broke. And it was coming up through the floor. So we had to have the floor replaced. This is like, a day after we bought the house. No, but it wasn't long. It wasn't long after we bought it. And so when they came and fixed it all, they didn't move the stove back enough. So if you're married to someone with the OCD, that stove, before you sleep tonight, has to be flush with the counters. So we thought, well, we can do that. So we had the brilliant idea, sitting back to back. I pushed my feet against the cabinets. He pushed his feet against the stove. And we just said, okay, go. And I didn't say stop enough to where, right after I heard my back do something, my lower back.
Oh, boy.
And it was, and I said stop, but he didn't register it for another few seconds. And that was the crux time, because now it's so weird. I don't know if it's the sciatica so many people speak of, because I keep thinking it will go away. But it doesn't
go away.
It doesn't go away. It shoots pains all the way down your leg. So another thing that I have to look forward to more of that, I guess, unless I go to a chiro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But speaking of Catholicism, we were one moment ago, how ironic that this O pill, the over-the-counter birth control pill, is from a company in Ireland. which is the chastity spot of the global world.
Yeah.
And supposedly, and yeah, I thought that was interesting. And talk about something that is quickly going to be the most shoplifted item at CVS. Look for the O pill. You won't find them. They're all shoplifted.
Yeah, well, they have everything behind a glass at my.
They do. CVS and Walgreens.
Drugstore. Yeah. Mine's a Rite Aid. No, Rite Aid. Yeah, Rite Aid.
Oh wow, we used to have Rite Aid.
Well, we have a CVS on the corner, and then we go to Walgreens. There's a thing called Walgreens Community. It's just a pharmacy.
Oh wow, yeah, that's good.
And that's where we go a lot of times. I buy most of my drugs now from Costco without my insurance, and it's just as cheap without my insurance as it is with the insurance. In fact, it's cheap at Costco. If I tell them to use my insurance, I have to make up on something like $495 before they start paying. All right.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I found out that I could go to Costco, mail order, and get my drugs, and they were as cheap, if not cheaper, than it would be at Walgreens.
Yeah, and all you have to do is mail them show them a copy.
There was one pill I was taking, and it was for $90 because they do 3 months, $125 at Walgreens. At Costco, $15.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have in beautiful Panhandle, Florida. They have some Costco's, but not in our town. Do you think I wonder if they do the same?
Well, if you belong to Costco, you can do it by mail order. They have mail order they have a mail order pharmacy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that would be.
Now, what it's not good for is a couple of months ago when I had COVID, I had to have Paxlovid, which is this pill that, kills it.
Oh.
Well, I couldn't wait for 10 days for it to come from Costco. Okay.
Yeah.
So I had to have it. So I go to my Walgreens Community where I also have my regular insurance, and did it there. Because I need that for immediate stuff. So,
Does Paxlovid work? Because it's advertised.
Although if you do have a Costco nearby, you can go to the pharmacy there and get it.
Okay. Yeah. Because everybody's clamoring for a Costco down here. We are getting an Aldi, but I don't think Aldi has a pharmacy. Yeah.
There's nothing like
the
Costco.
Battle between Sam's Club and Costco.
I mean, Marjorie and I were thinking of adopting children, and we figured we'd go to Costco because they have an adoption center, and what they do is they give you 2 kids taped together.
I thought you were serious. It was like, you two as parents, I can see that working.
Yeah.
See, I have a theory that people, age 60 and over that grandparents is a great role. They make good parents, in fact. Yeah. And, Jerry Brown had that theory I've quoted many times about people who are raised around their grandparents. He didn't say by their grandparents, but around their grandparents have a greater calm and a greater grace, because gentility skips a generation.
Well, I know a lot of grandparents now, and I said the great thing about being a grandparent is that you don't have to raise those kids.
Exactly.
You can go over, you can dote on them, you can love them, you can shower them with love and affection, and then you go home.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's the advantage of being a grandparent.
Well, and you have, 20 to 30 more years of life than your children who've had these children. So I like that about the grandparents thing, because we lived across, when I was growing up, from my grandparents. And I love my Grandma Pansy. She wasn't even my biological grandma, but she was the only one I ever knew.
Yeah.
And she replaced the one who took her life. And she was awesome. I mean, she was the prototypic. Yeah. I love how when people can step into a role, she had no children of her own, but we were her family.
You just used the word prototypic, which is a very sophisticated word to use. Yeah. And I actually am amazed by you, because you're like me. You kind of feel you're a receptacle of the English language, and you're the disseminator. You're the disseminator of the English language, and you have to do it properly.
Yes.
And there's something, for instance, this drives me crazy. You're going to love this. All these people on television who say, we broadcasted this program.
Well, you're kidding.
I'm hearing the word broadcasted a lot, and I yell at the screen, it's broadcast.
Yeah.
We broadcast this program. You don't say broadcasted. The only thing that you add to it is you go broadcasting, which is the business of broadcasting.
Exactly.
You know.
That I have a few word peccadillos, and when they are violated on TV, you cannot help but scream. And so I'm always also on the lookout for words that I may be mispronouncing, because growing up, I had a large reading vocabulary, but some words, like, I never...
I'll tell you one my father was crazy about, and it drove me crazy now whenever I hear it. When somebody says, revert back.
No, that means your original position.
It's redundant. It's saying I'm back. You know, reverting is going back in and of itself. So you don't say revert back. I reverted, or I revert to blah blah blah.
Yeah, and there are so many redundancies in common conversation.
But I love to hear the fact that you're so good with the English language. You know, we're probably the last ones. I hear broadcasters screwing up the English language all the time. And
I wonder if it's because they don't write. See, I love that, I wrote, sometimes it was paraphrasing the Chronicle, but I wrote the newscast because even if it didn't say what I wanted it, what I intended to say, I knew what I intended to say, and you learn to correct it on the fly, which is a good quality.
Yeah. But I often felt that I was the last harbinger and the receptacle of the English language, and that if I'm going to be on the radio, I better speak it well.
Yes.
I better
enunciate
and know the language and not butcher the language. Most people now in radio don't give a damn. In fact, I want to ask you something quickly, okay? Because we're kind of running out of time. I'm a member of SAG-AFTRA. I don't know if you are.
I am. No, I had a chance to join and I didn't.
But SAG-AFTRA really pisses me off because they just care about being a movie union. They don't care about being a broadcast union.
Because I was a member of AFTRA at my first job at CBS in St. Louis, and then we were Live 105 was a non-union shop,
right.
So I just kind of But they do. That is their priority.
Yeah, but what happens is this strike right now? It's not an AFTRA strike. It's a SAG strike. And the head of the union is was probably never a member of AFTRA. She's a member of SAG. Mm-hmm. And so all they care about is what happens with SAG. Now they say the reason why the AFTRA side isn't going on strike is because the union contracts are not expiring for AFTRA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So AFTRA is not on strike. Well, what happens when they do come up? Are they going to go on strike? And people say, well, what do they have to strike for? I'll tell you, this woman you're looking at right here is the example I always give about it. When you were working at what was now it's iHeart. It was
Star 101.3
Clear Channel.
Yes.
You did programs, but you just recorded the stuff that went between the music.
Yeah, the tracks.
You
tracking,
right?
Yeah.
How long did it take you to? There was a 6-hour shift they put up on the weekends with you on it.
Oh yeah,
maybe 8 hours, something like that. How long did it take you every week to do the tracking on that?
You could do it in an hour.
Okay, in an hour. I usually said you could do it in an hour and a half. How much did you get paid for?
Hour and a half. Yeah.
See?
And they got
has this union done anything about that?
Not a thing.
And do you think they're going to complain about it? And you want to talk about AI? Come on, this is the early version of AI.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you go to smaller stations, like I say in Key West, and it was a great little broadcast company, Holiday Broadcasting, but they were, I was tracking 2 stations, and live on a third, the top 40 station, which I loved because it's current, it's
but
fun.
At least you got paid for being in the studio for the 4 hours you were there, right?
Yeah, and that's why I got to the point where I could do the others when I was on the air live without much. I didn't want any erosion of quality on the air live. And so I thought, well, I'm not going to do that until, I figured out the rhythm of the live show. And then I was able to do, two other shows.
These are kind of issues which this union is not dealing with. But we're running out of time.
Oh, darn it.
But can I say screw Fran Drescher? Yeah, screw Fran Drescher. She took away my insurance, okay? So
did she?
She did away with insurance for all the seniors.
You're kidding.
Yeah. Basically, it affected seniors, and the oldest guy in the union was Norman Lloyd. He was the guy that fell off the Statue of Liberty in Hitchcock's pictures, Sabotage.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Saboteur. Yeah. Well, anyway, because he did two different pictures, and he was an actor for years. Produced all the Alfred Hitchcock Presents and so on. Was 105 years old, and lost his medical insurance.
See, what did she argue? He's covered by Medicare?
Huh? No.
What did she argue?
No, with Medicare, all he had to take care of was Medicare supplement, that 20% that Medicare doesn't pay for.
And now they don't.
And we paid $2,000 a year for that, which, if you think about it, isn't much for two people, for Marjorie and I, and we got pretty good coverage. And then all of a sudden, one day they say, "Oh, we're not going to do this anymore."
That's ridiculous. I mean, I'm surprised that wasn't publicized more.
Oh well, it was, and Ed Asner, who was still alive at the time. We're running over, but to hell with it. She's more interesting than anything. Ed Asner, who was the president of the union at one time, but wasn't at this time, decided to, because he lost his insurance too, decided to sue the union and do it as a class action suit. And then he died, but the suit kept going. And so we just got a resolution, and I got a letter that said, "Congratulations, as a member of AFTRA's seniors, a settlement has been reached, and you're going to get $400."
Well, see, I am a plaintiff, I didn't even know, in a suit being brought against another broadcast group I worked with, another group of great people in Des Moines, Iowa, actually Urbandale. But I don't know what it's for. I don't know what it's about. But I may be a beneficiary.
Good for you.
So, yeah.
Hey, listen. So when you going on vacation?
Tomorrow.
And she'll be gone for two weeks, right?
Yeah, Venice and then Croatia.
So we can set this up for another 2 weeks from now, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. We can do it. We can do that. We can do that.
And also at that time, I want to talk about places to go because you're the traveler now. Anyway, hey, listen, we've run way over. I love you, dear. This is the best part of my week. Okay.
Back at you.
You and Bubbles are the best part of my week.
Bubbles.
And I put you two together. The only problem is he only has dial-up.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and he doesn't know how to run Zoom or do anything like that. So
could he go over to one of his comedian tech-savvy friends?
I told him he could do that, but I'd love to put him on here with you sometime. But I want to have video, not just do audio. So
yeah, well, and also Bubs, I even wrote during COVID, or maybe it was at the tail end of COVID, a piece for Bobby Mitter, and his wife, about his wife Frenchie, who started buying insurance salvage boxcars full of insurance salvage on the railroad, and set up this eBay store and made like millions. And so she had kind of taken Bobby Bitter back as her boy.
Bobby Bitter was an alter ego that Bubs had. I'm going to talk to Bubs later today. I got to bring up Bobby Bitter.
Because he and Larry Stahl still keep in touch. Yeah. And I keep in touch with Larry too. Yeah. So, yeah.
Hey, listen, I love you dearly. Have a nice vacation. And we'll stick around. We'll talk right after we're through here. That's Lori Thompson, ladies and gentlemen. There's nobody better in this whole world that I could have had as a secondary fun person.
You're so sweet.
Well, we were married. Let's face it. Let's be honest. Our relationship lasted longer than most of our marriages have. So, anyway, I'll talk to you later, sweetie.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Now in its 9th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
And that was Lori Thompson, ladies and gentlemen. We love Lori, and we love having her on, and we'll have her on in a couple more weeks from now when she gets back from vacation to Croatia. Okay. Listen, there's only one person waiting to come on right now. And that's disappointing. That's very disappointing. I guess there are too many people who go, oh, he must be running something. I don't have to call now, and then they don't call at all. So I don't know. Well, let's go to this one person who's there, and we'll see. What if he actually let's see if he can connect now. Are you ready to connect? There he is. Are you there?
Yep.
What do you know? He did it. No problems tonight at all. But what? Wait a minute. You just muted yourself. Unmute yourself. Ask to unmute. There we go. There you go. Okay, you're the only person I have here.
All right, let's go home.
Yeah, let's go home. To hell with it,
How is your weather for you?
Well, today it was 95, which, compared to other parts of the country is pretty cool. How was it up where you were?
Well, it was real kind of, it rained a little bit, but everybody said don't go outside because it's very foggy with weird, dangerous stuff. And the other thing is they said don't drink your own water.
Don't drink your own water?
Yeah.
What do you mean don't drink your own water? I mean, urine? I mean, what?
No. From the normal water we use.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Because we live in one area,
mm-hmm.
and all the water comes through one system. And apparently it's getting a little crappy.
And why is it getting...
Bacteria.
Huh?
It's got bacteria.
Really?
Yeah.
From the heat? Or just... they would have said that anyway.
Yeah, but I think it's because a lot of the stuff around here kept taking all the water down.
Yeah.
And it was washing everything. It was draining everything.
Yeah.
And cleaning everything. And unfortunately, it was going in the water.
Yeah.
Where you would drink it.
Yeah. Well, I wonder about that because I here in New York, I don't drink water from the tap. Never do. Although I hear New York City water is supposed to be damn good.
It was.
It's supposed to be, or was at least at one time, the best in the country, I think.
Yeah.
But I just don't. I don't like taking water from the tap to drink. So, I'm one of these guys. I do. This is what I do. I do ice, which is seltzer, which is really water with zero sugar in it.
Mm-hmm.
So this I like.
Yeah.
But we've had all the air conditioning on in here. You've probably had your air conditioners on.
It's on right now.
And we're keeping them on in 2 rooms, so they keep the whole back of the house cool enough. And we just forget the living room and the dining room and the kitchen. We don't really go out there that much because that's just pure humidity. Now and the problem is we used to have air conditioners in those windows as well, but when we stopped doing this whole deal with when the guy who was renting it to us finally made a deal with us to move out and turn the apartment over to us, he came and got all his air conditioners. And we never turned the ones on in the living room and dining room anyway. And the reason is that we can't turn on more than a certain amount of air conditioners at once, or we blow a fuse downstairs. Mm-hmm. Okay, because this place is so badly wired, So we have to be very careful about that. So we just pretty much during the summer when it's hot, we live in the back rooms.
Well, you're in an antique building, if you think about it.
Well, yeah, it is an antique building.
Yeah.
So, anyway, but
when it was built, it didn't have any water.
Huh?
When that house was built,
mm-hmm.
they didn't have air conditioning.
Well, no, of course they're not. If this was 1900, But what it did have, okay, is for instance up here, I can't show it to people, but like there's the door, and then above it is a window that used to be able to open.
Oh.
So what you would do is you had all these windows above all the doorways that would open. Yeah, they would vent.
Yeah.
Then you had a lot of windows, so you open up all the windows, and you got a lot of air flowing through. So that was the form of air conditioning in those days.
Mm-hmm.
Then as years went on, of course, they started putting in air conditioners, and
mm-hmm.
But this apartment house, I mean, I would love to restore this apartment, but I'm not going to do anything to restore it because I don't want to do anything that's going to benefit the landlord. I don't own it. So why should I fix it up? The only thing I'll do occasionally is do things that make it easier to live here, but that's about it. The place looks fine. It's a little. There are things I would have done. A lot of varnishing and redoing the floors and stuff like that, but I'm not going to do it because I don't own the place.
Yeah.
Plus, these landlords I've got are really, they're amazing. We had a. I'm going to tell this story. I don't care because the world should know about this. 2 years ago, we made a deal, and the deal was that whatever the judge felt was equitable for this apartment, we would all abide by. So he said the apartment had to be returned back to its 2003 price, which was, believe it or not, $500.07 a month. So they wanted to keep charging us the $2,225 they said was the rent stabilized rent. And we said, no, the judge said otherwise. And they said, well, we're going to appeal this thing. Well, he said, if you appeal it and you win the appeal, in what do they call it, the appellate court, we'll abide by that. Okay? So we started paying the $507 a month. They went and they appealed it, and the appellate court said, screw you, we're sending it back to the original court and saying that that's the way it should be. Okay, so what does that mean? That means our rent is at $500.07 for the first 2 years. Then, when we go to the next 2 years, they can charge us a certain percentage to raise the rent, which I think at 2 years, if you rent for 2 years, it's like 5%. All right, which means $25 more a month. Fine, yeah. We don't mind that. So you have to get a renewal at least 90 days before the renewal time, which ours is November 1st. Well, we get a notice today, and the landlord wants to charge us the $2,225. That's not.
They can't read?
Huh?
They can't read?
Well, they're just being stubborn. you know, and so I had to get my lawyer on it. Ka-ching. And the lawyer wrote him a letter and said, hey, you know, you're fraudulently sending out this notice. It's a fraudulent notice. The renewal rate, you have to go by what the judge said, okay? It was not only settled by the judge, but then it was reaffirmed by the appellate court. So you're stuck, you know, with that. And they went, what? You know, so I mean, so my lawyer sent him a letter, a really nasty letter, and said, you better do something about this, because, you know, this is not what the rent is supposed to be. That's not what the judge said. And, you know, but they'll try anything they can, you know, and I knew that when this renewal came up, they were going to try and charge us that. And they probably figured by this time I don't have a lawyer anymore or whatever, but I still have the same lawyer. And so he sent him a letter, and he told him, he said, and we will do whatever it takes to get justice for our client, for my client. So, you know, that's...
You just need to keep a copy of that letter, so every time they try to do that each year, and you can just copy it, send it to them, and you don't have to worry about paying the lawyer.
Well, who knows how often this is going to happen. You know, I mean...
Oh, they'll probably try it every damn year, or every 2 years.
And how much are they going to fight this time? You know? I mean, they have no case. They have absolutely no case whatsoever. But, you know, I mean, it still winds up costing me money. So, I mean, it just...
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Keep a copy of that letter and change the date on it.
Yeah. But, I bet they try this every 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
I'll bet they try it every 2 years. And I don't know what they're going to do, but, you know, we have 60 days to tell them whether we're going to renew the lease or not. Otherwise, they can either evict us or do nothing. And I'm sure my lawyer, since he's on the case, we're not going to get kicked out of this place. And he's going to make sure that, you know, he just said to them, your renewal is completely fraudulent, you know. So here we go again. You know, it never ends. You know, you say you're so lucky to live in this apartment and getting it at the rate you get it at, but I got to tell you, we're fighting for every inch of it, you know. And but this is what happens when you know, these guys, when they bought this place, basically they bought it for nothing. They bought, I think, $150,000, plus they had to pay $150,000 in back taxes. They bought this entire apartment house for $300,000.
Yeah.
Well, what kind of landlord looks for a place in Harlem that's over almost 100 years old that's only $300,000? They call them slumlords, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what they were back then. I'm not saying that's what they are now. But the fact is that I don't think they ever got used to the fact that, you know, as time has gone on and this property has become a very decent property, or a great property to have, and that people want to move into, that they've got to be better landlords. No, they're treating it the same way they did when they bought it for $300,000. So that's what happens, you know.
They want to move somebody in and charge them $5 or $6 grand a month.
Oh, $5 or $6 grand. This place,
at least.
This place, if they fix it up,
Or,
they would do a little
or,
fix up, would go for about $8,000, $9,000 a month, because the view is the most extraordinary view almost in the whole building. In fact, it is the most extraordinary view in the whole building. You know, in fact, you can see the view outside my window. You know, that is a real view. I didn't Photoshop New York City in back of me, you know. So that's you know, but I mean, it just never stops. You know, we went through this whole thing, and they've never really admitted that that's what the rent is supposed to be. They keep sending me a bill every month for the rental, and it's for $2,225 minus a certain amount of money to bring it down to $500.07.
Oh, is that how they bill you?
Yeah, that's how they bill me. And
oh, so they're trying to give you a guilt trip on top of it.
No, and he said to them, "You've been billing Mr. Schwarzman and Ms. Miller all wrong, you know, and now you're being fraudulent in the price that you gave the DHCR, which is the place you register your rents, and you're being fraudulent and whatever in your assumption that he owes that much money now in rent, because he doesn't. And he listed the judge's determination on it, what the name of the case number was, and all of that. And just said, you better just, send us a different.
The way he's writing it up to you, he's probably claiming it some kind of a loss on his taxes.
Well, no, if that's what he were doing, fine. But there's nothing there that says you're going to have to pay this much money and then less such and such amount. No, they're saying, no, now you owe this much money plus the raise, plus you got to pay the...
that's not coming every month. That's just what he's saying this time for renewal.
Yeah, and he wants to renew it at, I can't remember the amount, it's the $2,225 plus, I think, 5%.
Okay, I thought he was sending you every month. He was sending you a $4,000 bill.
Oh no! Every month he was sending us a bill for $2,225 minus a certain amount to bring the price down to $500.07.
That's false billing.
Of course, it's false billing. Now, if you say to me, "Well, maybe he did it because they want to take the loss," okay,
but it's not really. It's not really what's happening.
Right. I mean, we did pay
because there's a court order on it.
Yeah. I mean, they just better get used to the idea that until both Marjorie and I drop dead, this place goes for, well, it'll go up to 600 or whatever once they keep adding the 5% every 2 years, But come on. Just
sucks for them.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing that they still refuse to accept the fact that they lost the case in court.
Mm-hmm.
Into the rent board.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
What?
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A certain ex-president.
Yeah. I mean, what?
Can you turn them into the rent board? And say, look, the guy's trying to establish a $2,025.
Phil, I pay a lawyer money to do this for me.
Yeah.
So he does whatever it takes. And in this case, it'll probably be more like going to the judge and having him send them an order that if they don't comply, there'll be fines or there'll be some jail time or something.
I think they're trying to establish a rental price on the property.
No, they're refusing to accept that they lost the case, and they've continued to refuse so by billing me every month for that full amount minus a credit that brings it down to $500.07 a month. But they don't want to do that this time. This time they want me for a deposit to now send them something like $2,000 to fill out the deposit from the $500 they already have as a deposit. Also, there's a law in New York City, that they have to renew the lease on the terms and conditions of the previous lease. All right? The terms and conditions of the previous lease were that the rent was $500.07 a month.
Yeah, are they in breach of the judge's judgment?
Yes. No question about it.
It's
they're as my lawyer wrote to them, you're being fraudulent and you're being whatever. I don't know. He named a couple other terms, and he said, "I'll take whatever recourse I have to do, because you have no case here. This is the way the case is. This was the judgment, and you have to live by it. So." But they, what they do is they just do. They're all like Trump. They'll just keep kicking the can down the road, and they can kick it all they want to. But the fact is that I think even if let's say we both drop dead tomorrow, I don't think they can raise the rate higher than that anyway, because that's what the rent has been established for this apartment. The only thing they can do in order to get a lot of money is make improvements and then claim based on those improvements that they can get so much more, right? But otherwise, that's the established price of this apartment, or the starting price, okay? Because every 2 years they get to raise the rent by about 5%. So, yeah. But, I mean, we have recourse, obviously. We have the law on our side, but it's a matter of just fighting them on this thing.
How much justice can you afford?
I can afford a lot now.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I've come into a bit of money. Okay.
Very nice.
So and not yet. I'm waiting for it to all go through the process and so on, but enough that I could keep fighting them for the next 20 years. Okay. So I mean, I don't want to have to do that. I want them to live by the decision. They went to court, they lost, now live with it. And you can't just say, well, I'm sorry, I don't agree with it, So, whatever. So my lawyer sent him a really nasty letter, and we'll see what happens, And he was right on the case as soon as he saw this thing. He said, that's it, you're absolutely right. He said, he said, as he put it, that rental is written in stone. Okay, there's nothing they can do about it.
And the retainer is? How much of a retainer did it cost to go at this point?
I just get a bill from him. Yeah. Come on, I've given him $110,000 so far over this long period of time. He knows I'm good for the money. Okay. And hopefully the letter will just do it, and they'll just say, okay, we're not going to fight it. But if they want to fight it, they've got nothing to fight. We just go, I think, to the judge or whatever and say, here's the judgment. They're not living up to it. Tell them they have to, So, I mean, it's just not nice on their part, I played fair with them. They should play fair with me.
Yeah.
So, but and I'm sure this will go on for the rest of my life as long as I live in this apartment. Okay, and I'm just going to have to expect it, and that we just have to put our foot down now, and maybe that will last for a while.
2 years.
Huh? 2 years. Yeah, 2 years. But no, they misrepresented how much we owe. Okay, that's it, plain and simple. So, anyway, yeah. So, welcome to the wonderful world of New York rentals and landlords, and you know what I'm talking about, Charlene.
Alex, you're a true New Yorker.
Yeah.
You're defending your homestead.
Yeah,
That's how you have to be.
Yeah, well, there may be 20 other people in this building who have cases against this landlord. Okay?
Oh, really?
Stand your ground.
Yeah, and I think they have the feeling that if they just play the bully, eventually people will give up because they can't afford it, And I know people who have actually won cases against them, and then they, of course, like we had to go back into court to get them to live by their agreements. I mean, but that's the way some landlords operate. This is not unusual. I'm not saying these guys are unusual.
I've heard that happen with a particular retirement home.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. They bully you into the end of the retirements and everything else, and then when you pass away, they start hitting you with all this stuff, and it's ridiculous.
Right. And I mean, I imagine I will be dealing with this every couple of years. Maybe this time will prevail, and I mean, there's nothing to prevail. We have the law on our side. They have no argument. They have absolutely none whatsoever.
they'll just keep trying and see if you slip up or whatever is what they do.
Oh yeah, I mean we make sure our rent goes out every month, and they get it on time, and there was some amount that was an overcharge, but we paid it anyway, just to be able to not have them say we had we were in arrears. I mean, right now we're in arrears for 60 cents because they charged us a interest payment on the money that they said we owed that we didn't.
So you send them 2 quarters and a dime in an envelope and say, here's your money.
Yeah, it gets ridiculous. It gets absolutely ridiculous. So anyway, I mean, that's my problems, and I wasn't going to even mention it tonight, but to hell with it. I've got the law on my side, and I mean, we went to court, we got a decision. They went to appeals court and appealed it, and they lost the appeal, and it was sent back to the original judge's determination, and that's the way it was. They have no more case, unless they think they do, which they don't. There's nothing they can really do at this point. So how are you guys all doing? How are you doing, Charlene? We haven't seen you in a while.
I'm surviving here.
What do you mean,
I don't know. Yeah, I still don't like being in this part of New Jersey, but there's nothing I can do. I'm stuck.
You don't like being in New Jersey?
This part, it's very boring here. I mean, the big thing now is, there's beautiful birds, and I don't know, we're being inundated by ants and spiders, and because there's so much rain. Yeah. And there's so much grass and trees that there's a lot of insects.
How's the heat over there? It's pretty bad, right?
Oh, God. It's killing me. It's the dog days of, like, August in July, right? It's, like, crazy. And then we still have to live through the dog days.
It's the dog days of August in August. This is August, isn't it?
Well, almost. 2 more days. But it's been bad all July. Very hot and humid, I think.
Yeah. But this is... this is July, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just remember we're just about going into August. Yeah.
Next Tuesday, yeah.
Let's hope it's not bad in August.
I've hardly gone out at all. I went out yesterday with Marjorie to go to the Apple store because her iPad froze. And that's the most I've been out because it's too hot out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you see that article that said that Apple was the worst place to work, and that they only retain their employees for a very short period of time?
No.
It's probably my uncle's place.
Where did you read that?
It could have been Microsoft News. It comes on my phone in the morning.
You didn't send me that article. I would have read that, Phil. I would have found the news.
I mean,
you don't read anything I send you.
I do read it.
You talk a big game, but you don't read it.
I do read it.
Well, I never read anything he sends me. But anyway, the fact is,
stuff on.
Let me put it this way: I've heard the opposite. Every time I've been to the Apple store, the people there have been really. In fact, I mentioned to Marjorie, where a lot of companies are going to hell in a handbasket. Apple seems to maintain its quality of service. And when you go down there, the people are all very nice and very accommodating, and they don't look like people who aren't getting paid well. Okay? I believe they all have medical insurance. A very good medical plan. I've heard nothing but positive things about Apple.
See if I can find the.
Now he's gonna. At least we're keeping him busy looking for something so we can talk with each other.
It was horrible.
Huh?
It was so hot today. I went to drop some boxes over at the post office, Alex. I had to come right back. The heat. You couldn't. The air was so thick. I actually had a sinus headache. I had to take an Advil when I got in. My brother tried to call me. It was just so thick. The heat. Like you couldn't breathe.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Charlene?
Well, you talked about Apple. Alex, you're a lot more techie than I am, I guess, or something. But in New Jersey, I have awful experience. Like they tell me when I get in there, I explain something to them and they say, you know what you're going to do? You're going to go home and they'll schedule a call for me. And I have to go home and like take the call or like call from my home. They give me a runaround that
no. I think you have to make an appointment with their so-called geniuses.
Right.
The genius part.
But that you have to do. Marjorie did that, and she got in the next day, and we went down there, and they were ready to see us when we got there.
Well, I get in so much trouble. I had one of the young female geniuses wipe out all my music or something, and I just I didn't want to argue, so I just left. But I've gotten better with Apple Music now, but I had to make a whole new playlist.
I found them to be, if you make an appointment, I found them to be very good. I found them to be terrific. That's what it was,
Alex. I just walked in, so that's why they got mad.
Like I bought this trash can Apple, and the thing about 2 months after I got it, because I bought it on, the only thing I ever bought on, eBay. And it went bad. So I went down to the Apple store and they said, well, of course you don't have any warranty on this, but we're going to fix it for you. Okay. So they fixed it and they said it'll be $500. So I paid them the $500. Go home. Thing isn't working. It stops working like really fast. Same problem, everything. I went back with it. They sent it down to Texas. And when it came back, I said, how much do I owe you? And they said, nothing. We have a policy here at Apple that if we say it's going to cost you a certain amount of money, okay, and we don't fix it, then we keep fixing it until it's fixed and it doesn't cost you anything. Well, this thing had to go back down to Texas twice. And by the time I was through, they replaced almost every part inside that computer. And I had almost like a brand new computer, okay? And it cost me $500. So, that I like Apple because they do live by their word. If we tell you it's been fixed, then it's fixed. And if it's not fixed, then we'll continue working on it till it is fixed and you don't owe us another penny. So, Phil's still looking for the article, because he's got to prove us wrong. It's good. It's keeping him busy. It's keeping him busy.
He's got his pacifier.
Tiny object.
Yeah.
Tiny object.
Yeah, but I've always been very happy with Apple's service. I kind of don't like the Genius Bar because what makes them geniuses? We throw words around these days rather flagrantly. We throw them around, and the fact is that those guys are geniuses. And that's going to be a lot of news to Albert Einstein. That really cheapens the term genius. What?
If they served wine at the Genius Bar, maybe it would be a good thing.
Well, it's two things that are wrong. They're not geniuses, and it isn't a bar.
Right.
They don't serve alcohol there. Well, have you found it yet, Phil?
No, but I saw it this morning, and it was definitely on the Microsoft startup. Start your day with news.
And so Microsoft is saying how people at Apple are underpaid and they don't let unhappy.
Well, the article. No, this just happens to be the system that delivered the news, but they also said Meta and Tesla and all the big ones were having a lot of employee turnover.
Then it had a little application link at the bottom for Microsoft.
Yeah,
come work here.
Well, no. Application.
Yeah. Well, the question is, how many people did Microsoft lay off? And how many people did I mean, everybody's laying people off like crazy, you know, rather than deciding how they're going to work with the worker count that they have currently and not fire anybody and just try and improve their business. And you know, the reason they're firing people is not because they're going broke. It's just because they're not making enough money. And that's the reason they're firing people. What?
It's always the case.
Yeah. And I mean, it's terrible. It's just terrible.
They lay off for their margins for their stockholders.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the Jay Leno, because I've been watching Jay Leno in his garage for his cars. He had an interview, and he was asked, what was the satisfaction with the people who work for you, and he said that the show, the producers wanted to lay off half the staff on his show. I guess he had about 90 people, and lay off half of them. And he said, I'm making $30 million a year. He says, cut my pay.
He's not making $30 million a year. He was at the Tonight Show.
Right. And
he wasn't. Excuse me. He wasn't making $30 million. He was making $15 million.
Yeah, because he asked them to cut his pay in half and keep all the employees on. So he, at the time when they were going to lay off half the employees at the Tonight Show, he said, cut me in half. He says, it's just me and my wife. I don't need $30 million a year. I can live pretty comfortably, he said, on 15, but keep everybody. And they did. So...
what a good guy Jay Leno is.
I thought that was a pretty good thing.
No, I mean, I'll tell you some. There's stories about Letterman and his philanthropy and all the things that he's done. Wait a minute, let me finish something. And somehow, Dave never says a word about it because his philanthropy is quiet.
Well, Jay's pretty quiet too.
He managed to tell you, and his
podcast
and his listeners that he, look at what I did for the people who work for me.
He didn't say it like that. He just said, hey, he didn't want to see these people laid off. He says, how much money do we need to save? He says, cut my pay in half. I thought that was a pretty good, righteous thing to do.
Okay.
But hey, not like you would give him any credit.
What? No, not at all. I think that Jay actually, over the years, has turned out to be kind of skeezy.
Well, I don't know. I think he's probably, I like his car thing.
Well, I like the car show too. That doesn't mean that I can't still think he's skeezy.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they're all skeezy because I thought Letterman was.
No, Letterman was a class act, and what he did, I could tell you about things he did during 9/11 that would just make you be in awe of him. Okay, and the way in which he helped certain people during that period of time, and that he's been very, very philanthropic over the years, but doesn't want people to know the money he gives because he doesn't want that to be anything that he brags about. Okay, so he just does it, and he also tells people, listen, I'm giving you this money to help you out in this way, shape, or form, or whatever, but if you ever tell anybody, that's the last penny you get from me.
Well, even Trump was quite philanthropic during
bullshit
times.
Bullshit.
And the reason I know is because Rudy Giuliani, who I was one of the people that had lunch with him.
Oh, good.
It told the story of what he did, and he was actually very generous.
Oh yeah, I believe every word coming out of Rudy Giuliani's mouth.
Well, hey. Didn't he tell the Georgia people that he...
Finally, after they had their lives threatened and they couldn't come out of the house because of Rudy Giuliani's assessment of what they supposedly had done.
Yeah.
Yeah, really nice, Rudy. Thank you for finally apologizing, you jerk.
Hey, did you hear what the deal was? Why they struck down the Hunter Biden plea deal?
Well, because number one, the judge is a Trump appointee.
No, did you hear about the clause that was in there giving Biden total immunity from any further prosecution?
Well, I didn't know that, but I would say that would be in there. Yes, you don't.
Well,
you don't.
They snuck it in
Wait a
there.
minute. Wait a minute. You didn't sneak it in there. What happened is when you say you're going to say you did what you did, okay, and that you're going to plead no contest, as it were. The part of the deal is that that's the end of it.
No, but that was the unprecedented thing that they were talking about. And
That's not unprecedented, Phil.
Yes,
according to this judge, who is a Trump appointee, who, like all Trump appointees, doesn't have any real major experience. You know, I mean, they come up with that. Oh, this has never been done before. Of course, it's done all the time. If you're going to sign something that says, "I will plead guilty," and I will pay the fine.
Well, obviously, you don't know the whole story, and you're just taking the party line.
No, I don't know the whole story because I don't watch Fox.
Well, and maybe that's the only place you're going to get the truth.
Yeah.
So, and if you
did, the truth. Let's see, what did they have to pay for their truth? I think it was how many billions of dollars to that to Dominion because of their truth, because of their so-called truth.
Oh, because of the voting machines?
Yeah, that little lie they kept perpetrating.
What we're talking about is their reporting. Does that mean because they had one error here that everything they reported is wrong?
They were reporting everything Rudy Giuliani was saying, and that included all his assertions of what was going on in Oh, here we go again.
Rudy Giuliani is supposed to be
Here we go. He's monopolizing the conversation again.
Hey, I can't help it if you're not well versed in.
I see. I'm not well versed. Yeah, I'm not well versed.
Tucker Carlson was barfing the stuff every night.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I gave you the reason why they struck down the deal. And
you gave us your reason.
No, and it wasn't struck down. She just said, you're going to have to come back and plead it some more with me and show me why I should go along with this.
Well, no, she asked, is this precedent? Is there precedent for this issue? And they, both the defense and the Department of Justice said, no, there isn't. And so the deal is struck down. Now Biden has...
Well, now there is a precedent.
No, Biden has now pled not guilty. The original
deal
he
didn't plead
guilty.
He's not going to plead guilty unless he gets the deal.
Gets his deal.
Yeah.
So now he's pled not guilty, and now there'll be a trial.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So but
I don't see there's going to be any more plea deal.
He already paid the taxes. He made good on that. So
I'm sure Helmsley did too.
He was in jail.
No, Helmsley didn't, as a matter of fact. Yes, Tony.
But the only on the Hunter Biden thing, I'll leave Phil out of this.
The Hunter Biden. Let's face it. To begin with,
because I know his opinion.
The Hunter Biden deal is a case of whataboutism. In other words, they're making a big deal out of Hunter Biden because it's what about Hunter Biden?
No, here's a question though. That's what I was asking though. Yeah. The whole group, other than Phil, you don't find it a little alarming that he doesn't claim taxes on almost $2 million?
No, I find that quite alarming, and he's been caught doing it. And he said, "Okay, I admit to it. I'm paying," and he paid off the taxes. Okay, he paid them off. All right. So, what did he do wrong now?
But I think it's kind of a reflection on Biden himself.
No, it's not a reflection on Biden. It's a
reflection.
It's a
Hunter Biden.
It's a reflection.
Kevin, it's a reflection on father.
Tony.
It's a reflection on Hunter Biden and Hunter Biden.
But here's the question: you don't think it throws a little shade on the president?
Tony, listen to me, Tony.
You're not letting me talk.
No, listen to me talk. The fact is that it is not a reflection on
That's your opinion. That's your opinion.
You don't know what my opinion is yet. You haven't let me
I'm trying to
say
get
it.
out the rest of my point, though. You just interrupted me.
Finish it.
What I'm trying to say is,
just finish it.
yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm losing track. To me, I don't care what anybody's opinion is. This is my opinion. And Kevin, you could say whatever you want, but my father would have told me I'm raised the right way. You're a reflection on your parents. That's a reflection on, you don't hide, oh, I forgot to pay taxes on $2 million. He's hiding something. Do you think everybody's that stupid?
Well, and I guess what Trump's doing is a reflection on his father.
This has nothing to do with
Whataboutism?
This has nothing to do with Trump. I don't care.
No. The fact is, it has nothing to do with Biden. Hunter Biden's acts are Hunter Biden's acts, and he did something wrong, and you can't blame that on his father. I'm sure if he'd gone to his father and said, "I'm doing this with my taxes," his father would have said, "Pay the damn taxes." You know.
That's your opinion. I respect your opinion.
No, it's not my opinion. It's fact.
Well, I don't agree with it. I think.
Well, you cannot agree with it, but it's fact.
When mobsters don't pay their taxes, there's a reason why.
They're
why?
mobsters.
Because they don't want you to know where they're making their money.
They're mobsters.
That's why.
No.
Yeah.
And that's the Biden crime family.
That's the Trump crime family, too.
Hey, whataboutism again?
No.
Hugh Fitzwater.
By the way.
Well, in reality, if he gets caught and he's
the only reason why he's doing
he
it,
should go to jail too.
The only reason why this is coming to light because his father's the president now, and it's catching up.
No,
to
the
him.
only reason everybody's going after him at this point. Wait a minute, hold on a second. And Fox is on the case every day of the week is because he is Biden's son, and because they want to make Biden look bad, not for any other reason. If he wasn't Biden's son, he might have gotten away with this tax fraud.
If he wasn't Biden's son,
wait a minute. If he wasn't Biden's son, he would never have gotten that money.
He would be that's exactly it. Yeah.
Well, okay.
What is he really record? He has no ability
enough,
to make
Tony. Enough, Tony.
He's a crack addict.
Enough, Tony. Of course, he was a crack addict. Yes. Don't you feel sorry? Don't you feel sorry for the guy that had a drug problem?
Don't feel
sorry. No, because he's got a silver spoon.
Fuck you, Phil, because you don't have a single decent bone in your body if you don't feel sorry for somebody who has a drug problem.
Well, I don't know what he has. That's your opinion. I don't know if he has a drug problem. All I know is
it's my opinion. Okay, yeah. And I'm right and you're wrong. Kevin?
I pay my taxes and he doesn't, so he stinks.
Yeah, okay. You don't have to worry about paying very much taxes. Okay.
Yeah, how do you know? You know my finances? Because I don't know where you can live for $500 in Queens because it ain't my apartment. It's $2,400.
You didn't rent it either. It's still empty.
That's cool. Yeah,
I go to 500.
Hello.
Wait a minute. I want to hear from Kevin. So would you two people just shut the fuck up? Okay. Yes.
The bottom line is he's going to trial, and if he gets caught and he gets prosecuted, he's going to go to jail, and that's the way it should be. Period.
Yeah.
His father,
and it has no reflection on his father. So what if he did it?
Her opinion.
Well, it's my opinion. I'm just saying that's the law as well. Just because he did it doesn't mean his dad should go to jail. Am I wrong?
Congress is investigating.
Did I ask a question?
Yeah.
If he did it, does it mean his father should go to jail?
Yeah.
It does. Okay. So if your son goes out and murders somebody who'll put you in jail, that's fair?
Because what they're alleging is that Biden was just as complicit as
the keyword you made there was alleging.
I'd like to hear if Brian, who also called, might have anything to say. Brian?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, Kevin, thank you for warning me Phil was on because I could only handle about 10 minutes a night from him, so that's why I called in late.
You're welcome.
And then with Tony like that, man, maybe I got to call him later.
Well, I'll send you my taxes to Bill. My Microsoft dividend.
Nothing wrong with having an opinion. It's just, don't get upset about it.
I'm not
have an opinion, and I'm just telling you that I don't think it's any reflection on your father if your son did something wrong.
Bullshit.
Okay.
Everybody's getting demonetized.
That's that.
Hi, Charlene.
Checks in the mail.
Yes, Charlene. Hi. You have anything to say, Charlene?
Well, it kind of looks like they're trying to get back at the Dems the way, like, they're trying to prosecute Trump. So now they say, oh, well, let's go after, this Hunter Biden thing, and they won't let it go. They're trying to make, voters think that he's got like a lot of crap going on in his family that's not good. And, if you're really smart, which I'm not a Trumper, there's a big difference between what Trump is being tried, what they're trying him on, and a big difference in, Hunter Biden's case.
Isn't Trump's son-in-law having problems now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the $2 billion they made from the Chinese.
So did Hunter, and
what about his?
If Biden is compromised, and President Biden.
Oh, and Trump isn't, isn't.
Well, he's not the president right now.
Well, he's going to be running for president. He's going to be
matter.
He's going to be your nominee. Yeah. So I mean, how Trump, a guy, if he runs for office, by the time he runs for office, he will have 4 felony charges against him. I mean, 4 different cases. More than that, something like 20 or 30 or 40 charges against him. I mean, they just added some more charges in the Mar-a-Lago document.
I know that the Kentucky Fried Chicken menus that he had that said top secret on it, he's being prosecuted for those too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well,
this is nothing but a witch hunt.
Oh, when Phil's in the corner, he jokes.
No, it's a witch hunt.
Yeah. Oh, it's a witch, or it says witch hunt.
Yeah. It is.
Mm-hmm. You don't believe that maybe there's a possibility that Trump is a major crook?
No, I don't think he is.
You don't think that for years people in New York City have known he was a major crook?
I think New York City's a tough place to do business.
Jeff is agreeing with me on that. Right?
He's a crook.
Yeah.
It's a tough place.
Let me put it this way. I have a dear friend who her boyfriend was Bernard Carrick.
Yeah.
And I said to her, were they corrupt? And she says, are you kidding me? Two of the most corrupt people, she and Giuliani, 2 of the most corrupt people that she's ever had to deal with.
Because Giuliani took down the mob when he was U.S. attorney, and he cleaned up the city. So how corrupt could he be?
He was a good mayor.
Very corrupt. He used that as his cachet to be able to go in and steal people blind.
Well,
Tony, do you think he was a crook in New York?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I lived in New York, and I know you weren't living here at the time, Alex, and I can tell you right now, at the end of Koch's run, you had a crack epidemic. The mob was all over the place. He did clean that up, and I lived here. Unless I know it was better than right. I mean, I lived here.
Charlene?
I just want to say I lived, in Alphabet City, Lower Sida, and it was drug-ridden and crack-infested. Yeah. And I don't know, but I could say that I guess he did clean it up sort of.
Okay. Well, listen. I just looked. I got to run the theme. I got to get out of here.
Oh, it's time to go.
Yeah, it's time to go. Jeff, thank you so much for being here. Cool. Kevin, thank you for giving a moment of respectability to the whole thing. Charlene, thank you. Good to see you again. Oh boy, I'm forgetting his name now. Phil, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
I'll loan him the cuffs.
Tony, thank you, and thank you to Brian for having joined us as well. Boy, two exhausting nights. All right. Anyway, everybody, give a big wave goodbye, and I'll give a big wave goodbye at you. Okay, there they go, folks. There they go. Oh boy. Anyway, that's it for tonight. It's just been. It's too much. Anyway, we'll see you again tomorrow night, final show of the week. Same time, same station in life. In the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Night, everybody.